This was my bedroom. Mia's little TV room. It's kind of sad to be leaving. This was our first place. So now we have a house. Spider webs. So this is, I guess, day 2 or 3 that Mia and I have been working on the garage. You're probably saying, wow, that's a lot of garbage. But what you wouldn't believe is that the Salvation Army already came and took stuff, and then the city came and took a whole bunch of stuff. Then the garbage people just came and took a bunch of stuff. And there's still all this stuff left. This has been repainted. Well, or at least primed. Kind of fixed the leak in the kitchen. Here's more stuff. There's a little bit more of their garbage that they kept on the side of the house. Looks like there's still some stuff in the dryer. Well, the dryer that they left outside in the backyard. Anybody need a keg? This is all from the previous owners, this mess. Like a new desk. So there was a rumor that the girl drank a lot. Mia is picking off all of the bottle cap and shredded beer can Christmas ornaments.
That lawnmowers can mulch is because of the shape of this bottom part. So when grass and dirt gets caked on there, that changes the shape of it and it doesn't work as well.
Hey guys, I think my last video probably requires some additional backstory. Sorry, it's still a little sick. Okay, I'm better. I hear Mia. There she is. Mia's working on some MMPR toy stuff. We moved into this house in 2007. Previously, Mia and I had been living in an apartment not too far from where we live now. It was a very nice apartment complex, and where we lived, we had everything in walking distance. We had a huge mall, very fancy, and then a not-so-fancy mall, but that had the movie theater and some nice restaurants. I could walk to Toys R Us and Best Buy, Home Depot, you name the chain, we could walk to it. But unfortunately, we had really bad neighbors. It's a kennel. And the street noise was really, really bad. Beneath us, we had these girls that not only sat outside smoking all day, which came into our room, they had a chimenea. That's like a ceramic chimney, which of course you're not allowed to have on your patio. So they would fill this chimenea up with logs and then whatever chemicals to get the fire going, and then they would dump their ashtrays filled with however many cigarettes they'd smoked during the day into the chimenea, and the smoke would come pouring into our room. Not only were we on a very busy street, we were also by a traffic light. Everybody had to have what I think is called a boom car. It's like a stereo on wheels, so we just constantly hear boom, 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 boom outside our window. And people that weren't driving those cars were riding motorcycles or other cars that had really loud engines. So that was really unpleasant, needless to say. Oh, I have to rant about this neighbor real fast. She lived next door to us. She had 4 kids who would jump on their bed and they would launch themselves into my bedroom wall. So one night I walked out onto the street and looked up and I see the kids jumping on the bed, and then at the height of the jump they would like do a cannonball into the wall. So one night I walked over and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, would you mind, I'm trying to remember how I even phrased this, but I asked if they could please not bang the wall. It's like the whole family, they look at each other, oh, yeah, we heard that too, it must be the pipes. Go back in my room, they start doing it again. There was resident parking at the complex behind the gate, and as you drive in, there's a tiny little visitor lot where, you know, if you had a guest or a client, or you're a potential resident and you wanted to make an appointment to see some places, you would park here. There was almost never visitor parking because the residents all parked there because they don't want to walk the extra couple feet. So this neighbor was one of the people that always had to park in the visitor lot. So not having visitor parking was a problem for when we had clients over, but that's another story. When we were packing the truck, I had all these boxes that I was walking with. They were thankfully empty. And this woman runs me down, and I lost my balance, and I dropped the boxes, and then she proceeds to drive off. She's like dragging the boxes under her car, and then she drives off. Unbelievable. She was our best neighbor by far. That's really sad. So the night that Mia and I moved into our apartment, the girls downstairs had a big party with the cigarettes and the chimenea and the chemicals and just everything. And our apartment was so smoky with all those chemicals that we had to go to my aunt and uncle's house for the night. The next night, the girls came upstairs to complain to us that they could hear us walking on our floor at 10 p.m. So we took that as an opportunity to bring up their chimenea and all the disgusting stuff coming into our apartment. And they started screaming at us and said that they came upstairs to try to reason with us about the walking at 10 p.m. instead of just reporting us to the apartment complex and having us removed because they believe in being neighborly, but we were beyond reason. The louder girl screams to her friend as they're leaving our apartment, I knew they couldn't be reasoned with. Nice people. They told us that if we didn't like it, we could move. When I brought up the chimenea, she said, welcome to apartment living. I think footsteps at 10 p.m., I think that's apartment living as well. So we decided to pack up all our stuff and to find another place. But not just any place. We spent months trying to find somewhere that would be really good for us. What do we need? We're video, animation, special effects people, so we need a space where we can set up a green screen, a portrait, curtain, backdrop, where we can build stuff, and most importantly, where we could have quiet. Because we film, we record audio, we like to go to sleep, crazy stuff like that. We visited a bunch of different houses. When we found this place, it was, of course, advertised as quiet, tree-lined cul-de-sac, peaceful neighborhood. At that time, we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't even 1,000 square feet. It was a bit smaller than that, actually. There wasn't that much stuff to bring over here, so we were able to rent 1 moving truck, 1 moving van. We did it all ourselves, and then I made a ton of trips in my SUV. But that still took a long time and it was a lot of work. Now we live in a house. We've accumulated a lot more stuff. I brought all my stuff from New Jersey. Remember when we drove cross country in the big moving truck with all the rest of my stuff from my dad's office? If we were to move again, now that's a big deal. That's going to be really expensive. Financially, we can't move into the place of our dreams. It would just be to another place. And there's no guarantee that it's going to be any better than this place is. Aside from our bad neighbors, this house is actually a really good size for us. And, you know, now we've spent time painting the place.
Jerry is purplizing his room. I'm doing mine. She's so cute.
So after we got new carpet, new window blinds, sanded, spackled, primed, painted, added furniture and stuff that was actually clean, it was like a totally different room. Well, of course you guys know that any room looks better when you just add some Power Rangers, right? Huge difference in Mia's room. I wish I had better footage of what this looked like before.
I'm doing good painting.
Oh. Looks like you're doing good videotaping.
While I do painting. Look at the mess Jerry made on this rug.
And Jerry got his room nice and orange. At this time, Jerry didn't really have any of his own stuff yet, so he was sleeping on our air mattress. He was using crates for his computer. And then one day when I was coming back from a client's house, I actually found a wooden desk that somebody was getting rid of. So I pulled over and asked the guy if I could have it. He said, yeah, I'm getting rid of it. So I loaded it into the car and I brought it here. It was a good enough meantime desk, so at least Jerry wasn't using crates for his big monitor.
This is going to be the office eventually.
In addition to painting, there was dealing with all the electrical stuff that didn't work and the plumbing.
How's it coming, man?
It's clogged.
We were, of course, told that when we moved in, the place would be clean. When we moved in, there were just epic heaps of trash everywhere. So we got to spend 3 months cleaning it up before we could even start taking our stuff here, because you don't want to start bringing your stuff over while there's all this filthy trash everywhere. We were already supposed to be out of our apartment, but instead we had all our stuff there, and we were paying, I think, 3 months additional rent in our apartment while we housed all of our stuff while we cleaned up all the trash here. While we're dealing with all that stuff, we find out that this neighborhood is anything but peaceful. There were several times where we just drove to this neighborhood and just sat in the car and tried to get a feel for the neighborhood, make sure that this was a good place, because we were told that most of the homes were retired people and that it was very quiet here. And each time we came to visit, the neighborhood was pretty quiet. I mean, we left all of this great shopping and all this more exciting stuff for kind of the middle of nowhere, but in exchange for peace and quiet. So we had just moved in and we went out to get some stuff for the house and come back, and we couldn't get anywhere near our neighborhood. There were police cars everywhere and police tape. I guess there was like some big shootout or something in our neighborhood, and there were a ton of cops. I guess they got the guys. I was never able to find any official story, so I don't really know what happened. Since the last vlog I posted, we've had 5 separate occasions where LAPD was flying over the house, circling our neighborhood with a searchlight. We started the moving process over the summer, and it ended up lasting through November. And that's our really, really busy time. As you guys may even know from the vlogs, we're always really busy around this time. But we couldn't be taking on jobs because we didn't have any place to do them. We were in the process of moving. Our business kind of died at that time while we're moving into this place. So we moved in and we're dealing with all the electrical problems, gas leak in the kitchen, no smoke detectors anywhere, no window fixtures. We had to buy all new blinds and window everything. Garage door didn't work. 2 of the bedrooms had light fixtures that were sparking in the attic. None of the toilets or sinks worked. This was just a huge, huge mess. And just as we finished moving in, a pipe exploded on the front lawn. And when we tried to turn it off, that activated something that flooded the garage from the inside that we didn't know. It was like in a cartoon, like the water was filling inside the garage. And then when you open up the garage door, the water comes like a tidal wave. Since we hadn't fully moved in, we had a lot of our stuff just in the garage waiting to come into the house as we figured out where everything went. So all 4 years of Mia's artwork from Pratt was ruined by the water. Oh, look at that face. Computer boxes were damaged, boxes for Power Rangers, my trains. All sorts of stuff that you don't want getting wet got wet. And it was just tough luck for us. There wasn't anything anyone could do about it, except dry it off or throw it out. Not only weren't the rooms painted, there was glue all over the wall in what's now the Power Rangers room, which I had to sand and prime, and all the vinyl flooring had holes in it with floors beneath that, like vinyl floors underneath the vinyl floors. I actually painted that to make it look like a black and white floor to go with my kind of 50s theme, because I think I wanted a black and white floor, but this was the cheapest way to do it. I don't think a lot of people can tell by watching our videos just how run down this house is. I think we've done a pretty good job in hiding it, and we continue to work on it and to paint and to do stuff outside just to kind of make it look more presentable. When we moved in, nearly everything on the property was dead. The green that you're seeing in the grass is actually crabgrass, which I hate more than I hate Burger King. Oh, I hate crabgrass. But I was determined to make the backyard nice. I love the idea of having so much life back there, both plants and all the animals. We had so many different types of birds. The cats came, we had a possum, we had hummingbirds, we had a lot of bees, which is really good. I dug a pond and got one of those cheap pond liner things, so we have fish. We've got goldfish and mosquito fish. They eat the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are bad. We did have a frog, but I had to catch him and release him somewhere else because he was very noisy and I didn't want to disturb our stupid neighbors with the frog. Before we started planting anything, we had to dig up the entire backyard by hand with just a shovel. No fancy equipment. We don't have a gardener. We did it all ourselves. And I wanted to have my trains outside. I thought I could have like a little garden railroad, but the trains drove the dogs crazy. So just won't do that. Anyway, upon moving in, that's when we realized that the 2 dogs that lived behind us didn't ever stop barking ever.
At 1:40 in the morning. Can't sleep with this. And they allow it. What is the point of this?
Should call the non-emergency police.
That's another thing we'll have to figure out tomorrow. I have to get their exact address, too. This is the people who told me not to bother their dogs by going in my backyard, because that makes them bark.
Bark.
Why don't any of the other neighbors complain? Am I the only one who hears this? Just kind of keeps going, huh?
It could absolutely make you insane. Somebody had commented that I wasn't being friendly or something, or that I hadn't tried enough things, even though that wasn't based on anything. First, I tried to be friendly to the neighbor and see if I could work something out, and that did not work. I learned the dogs' names and tried to talk to the dogs. That was a suggestion that a lot of websites gave. That didn't work. We tried earplugs. That didn't work, nor is it comfortable. In addition to many internet searches, I bought a book. It's called Simple Solutions Barking. Bought this book to see if there was anything I could learn from this. That didn't work. I went to Petco and paid almost $200 for this thing. It's Pet Safe. Uses ultrasonic sound to deter nuisance barking. Tried that, and dog whistle and anything like that. That didn't work. Later on YouTube, I found like this video that had like tones that you could play, and that's supposed to make the dog stop, so I would play that with the speaker out the window. That didn't work. Mia and I were in a mall, and there were 2 off-duty police officers. So I walked up to them, and I asked if I can talk to them for a minute about a problem I'm having. They said yes. So I told them about the dogs. They kind of smiled and said what they would do in my position. They gave me 2 suggestions, neither of which were legal, and I wouldn't dare do them. I'm not going to say what they were. That didn't help. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom and moved into the living room.
I sleep in the living room because there's less barking in here. I mean, you can still hear it echoing in the chimney, but it's not as bad as when I used to sleep in my bedroom, which is no longer my bedroom.
So Mia, Jerry, and I all sleep with a fan by our head. That does help, but you could still hear them sometimes. We got a white noise machine. We moved our office from the back of the house to the front of the house. Still hear the dogs. Finally, we went to animal control and reported them. They were issued 2 or 3 warning notices. All were ignored. So then we had a mediation at the animal control office. And they lied and lied and lied and were the nastiest people you've ever met. After the mediation, that same week, they got a 3rd dog. One of the most neurotic dogs you've ever heard. We reported them again, and then we had a hearing. The hearing examiner determined that the barking was indeed excessive and reissued the dog licenses with terms and conditions. So those 2 dogs are gone now. I don't know what happened to them. The 3rd one still lives there, and they got more dogs. These dogs are every bit as bad. I think they actually bark more than the original 2 did. Last week, Mia and I went back to animal control, and reported them again. So we get to start the whole process all over again. It'll probably take about a year to get through it. The reason we didn't follow through with the final report that would have gotten the dogs taken away is because the first 2 dogs were really big, aggressive dogs, and they would most certainly have been euthanized. We asked the animal control officer last week about smaller dogs. Well, he was just like, oh yeah, they'll get adopted. I don't want anybody to think that Mia, Jerry, or I hate dogs or even dislike dogs. Those of you that have been watching the vlogs for a while know that I was a dog owner for 23 years. I mean, when I was born, my parents had a dog, Bender. And when Bender died, a couple years later, we got another dog. And then my dog, Princess, she lived until I was 21. So she lived a long time. And then after Princess died, we got Pokey, who is still in my family but lives with my brother. And Jerry still has a dog in his family. We have nothing against pets. There's no animal that we dislike. When I lived in New Jersey, my family, all of my friends, everyone in my neighborhood, everybody had dogs, but they were considered the family pet. They were like a member of the family. They lived in the house. They were loved. They were cared for. Every time you left your house, you didn't see every telephone pole and tree plastered in lost dog flyers. You didn't see dogs wandering around the neighborhood everywhere you go. I mean, it's really out of control here. Is this another dog wandering? What should we do?
Well, don't get out. You
No?
don't know if it's...
Oh wait, there's 2 of them.
You don't want to get mauled
No.
by a stray dog.
Hi! Well, he's got no collar. What do we do? There's no picture?
Well, it's folded over. Let's see.
This is no good. Doesn't say. And every time I stop and I try to make sure that it doesn't get hit by a car, I try to see if there's like maybe a gate open or someone that's looking for it, so hopefully I can get it back to its house. I have returned several dogs in my neighborhood that just wander onto my property. I know where they live and I bring them back. Last week, on our way back from grocery shopping, we found a dog. Didn't have a collar.
Whose dog is this?
I don't know.
No
This is
collar?
unbelievable.
Dog doesn't have a collar.
No collar? Ay, ay, ay. In the street. No collar. Oh, crap. What do you do?
Better flash or honk at this person.
Should we go back? There's missing dog posters in every one of these, but it's not that dog, right? How about this one? Okay, this is... No, that's for a big dog.
Wow.
Wow, that's a really big dog. We almost brought it home. We couldn't keep it in the house. We've got the cats. We can't just leave it in the backyard. We didn't want to take it to animal control. They were closed anyway. If the dog had a collar, I would have gotten out and called the owner and waited, or taken the dog to the owner's house. But what is this neglect in California with dogs? I don't understand it. So anyway, I do appreciate all the really nice comments that you guys left on the last video. I didn't get to reply to everybody before YouTube changed the thing. There are certain comments I can't reply to anymore, at least not on the video. A lot of people thought that we should move, and I get that it was meant in a nice way, like I get it, this really sucks, you guys should move. But what I think a lot of people in general don't realize is the offending neighbor should have to move, or at least fund your move. For those of you that have seen what it looks like when Mia's animating, hopefully you understand that there's just absolutely no way we could be doing one of our animation jobs, or you know, doing featurettes for Shout Factory and be moving stuff and setting up in a new place. You just can't. If we were to move right now, it would probably be to a smaller place. It would probably be a more expensive place. And there's still no guarantee that we're going to have a better situation. It's really not right that people can disturb you and then you should be expected to pack up all of your stuff and spend all that time and money finding another place, moving out of this place, moving into the next place, setting up the next place. It's really expensive. It's really time consuming. We've lived here since 2007 and we're still slowly making this place look nice. As I can afford a gallon of paint, I get a gallon of paint. As I can afford to fix this or work on that, you know, we didn't just do it all at once. It's the same thing with my Power Ranger collection that a lot of people on the other channel don't understand. I didn't just go to the store one day and buy 20 years worth of Mighty Morphin Super Sentai stuff. I've been collecting a little bit at a time for 20 years. And it's the same thing with the house. We should not have to move because our neighbors are breaking the law. Alright, so there was somebody that left me a comment that I feel I have to do a video response to. Series of comments, actually. Because there was just so much wrong with these comments. I feel like I'm not only answering on my own behalf, but I see so much of this attitude and these statements on other people's videos. So hopefully some of you can enjoy my response if you've experienced similar stuff. As much as I love to see your blogs, and I love you and Mia, both you guys are really awesome. Well, that's true. But you complain a lot. I mean, you don't like kids or dogs, fine. Okay, let me stop you right there. That's the first mistake, is just making these assumptions, treating them as fact, and then going on with your facts that you've just made up. I never said I don't like kids or dogs. You've been watching my vlogs long enough to know who Harley is. We had a blast making videos together. She's been in the vlogs a number of times. Have you really never met somebody who's a parent, anybody that works with children, that doesn't want to hear other people's children scream unnecessarily, constantly? You work with screaming kids, fine. I don't enjoy that sound. When I go out to eat, to get away from the barking or my screaming neighbors, I don't want the kid behind me shrieking these ear-piercing screams. I don't have to hate kids to not enjoy that. I mean, it's just not pleasant. As I stated earlier, I was a dog owner. I don't dislike dogs, I love dogs. So the solution to not liking kids or dogs is to stop buying so many Power Ranger toys and use that money to move. You don't know what I spend in a year on Power Ranger toys. You know how many years I would have to not buy toys for in order to save up for a move? What is my toy budget? You don't know. But since you're assuming, you know that I have a CS Toys affiliate link, you know I'm constantly promoting CS Toys, you saw me working at Image Anime in LA, in Florida, in New York. On my YouTube videos, I'm clearly promoting them. If you're going to assume, you should assume that somehow I have some deal with CS Toys and Image Anime and I'm either getting free toys or discounted toys. I think that would be a fair assumption. I'm getting something for working for them. It's a job. For all you know, I might not have paid a nickel for any Super Sentai toys in the last 4 years. I'm also on the Power Force. For all you know, Bandai could be sending me free stuff. I'm not saying they are, but I'm just saying, if you're going to assume, that's a fair assumption. We never said that we didn't have money saved up for moving. We actually could move. But there's more to it than just packing up and moving. That's another discussion. But no, we can't just move, even though we could afford to physically pack up and go somewhere else. I'm not trying to be mean, but calling your neighbors names is not a solution. Who said that was a solution? While I try not to be mean to anybody, the word cretin, first, I can say the word without having to bleep it. The words they have for us I can't put in the vlog, but I never said that was a solution. The apartment next to me has cats that meow 24/7. It's annoying, but I understand why they do it, and I'm used to it. I'm sorry, I've had a lot of experience with cats.
I love the pipe cleaner.
We had 8 cats living with us for a long time, not a peep. I spent several months taking our kittens to cat adoptions in Woodland Hills. They had a whole big wall filled with cat cages, not a peep. When we go to animal control, they have a whole section for cats, not a peep. All my friends had cats growing up, not a peep. I mean, sure, every cat has their cat crazies for some period of the day, but 24/7? No. We have stray and feral cats that are all in this neighborhood. Moochie was a feral cat. Mittens and Schmutzy, they were feral. They don't meow 24/7. Your neighbors are doing something wrong if the cats are meowing 24/7, and they probably shouldn't be in an apartment complex. That's not fair to other neighbors. So you understand why the cats are meowing, but you can't understand why I would be complaining about dogs barking, which is different than cats meowing. I mean, can you really not see the difference between chronic nuisance barking and cats meowing? Dogs are quite a bit louder than cats. That's just a fact. I mean, the fact that you can hear the cats through your apartment wall is impressive. That's great that something that doesn't bother me doesn't bother you either. I didn't complain about cats meowing. I'm complaining about dogs barking. I don't understand how you're going to say, you shouldn't let Z bother you because B doesn't bother me. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. You really come off as privileged, and it's kind of annoying, sorry. When I think of privileged, I think of people like Justin Bieber or the Kardashians or people with like private jets and yachts and mansions and summer homes and stuff like that. Not broke people living in a rundown house with nothing in their bank account who could be out on the street at any minute, surrounded by neighbors constantly disturbing them. I mean, if that's privileged in America, then this country is in a lot of trouble. There are some aspects in my life where I have been very lucky. Having a friend like Jerry and a girlfriend like Mia makes me very, very lucky. I do have some nice things, and I have gotten to do some really great things in my life. Some of it's just been luck, and some of it I've worked really, really hard for. If you can't tell from watching us, Mia and I don't have a life outside of our work. We work 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. We don't ever stop. We don't ever take a vacation. Hopefully it's evident that a lot of work goes into our 2 YouTube channels, DividedAsOne and MMPR Toys, and whatever stuff we post on the Twitters and Facebooks and that stuff, and a little bit of Instagram. But we also run our own business. That's where where most of our time goes. And in addition to running our own business, we also freelance for, well, companies like Shout Factory. We're very busy people. We work really crazy hours. Work, 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 work. And we're still broke, but work, 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 work. That's what we do. Between the three of us, we have one car. My car is almost 20 years old and it's falling apart. I don't think privileged is the right word for me. I think you're thinking of another word. There's always going to be people that you're better off than, and there's always going to be people that are better off than you. And with what little experience I do have on YouTube, I see enough that anybody that has anything, it's like you kind of have to apologize for having anything, for being able to go out to dinner every so often. I mean, Mia and I go out to eat maybe 3-4 times a month. We've gotten a lot of comments about that. Look at our bill. $9.80 split between two people who work 120 hours a week. I mean, come on. We share breakfast. We'll go to like Islands and order a burger that we split in half. We go for like lunchtime when it's on sale. So for like $7.80, we get all you can eat fries, free water, and we share a hamburger. We can afford it. And it's cool that I get to do editing for the Shout Factory DVDs. That's still a job. Editing is still work. I posted like 4 or 5 videos that were open to the entire Power Rangers fandom. Anybody at all that wanted to submit a video to me, as long as they followed my guidelines, sent the correct file, and got it into me on time, I was going to put into the final featurette. I try to include the entire fandom into the fandom featurette. When I get something like that, I do try to share. Pretty much sleep 3 to 4 hours a night to do work. You say you work as a nurse and you only sleep 3 to 4 hours a night? I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that you're going to be in some serious trouble if you don't get some more sleep. Also, that's kind of scary that doctors or nurses could possibly be getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night and be allowed to operate on you, to bring you medication, to write out prescriptions, put needles in you. Ugh. No, you gotta get sleep. That's not right. I've gone over to them and told them that they are loud, and they apologized over and over. Those are your neighbors. My neighbors are different. Do these sound like reasonable people to you? After several continuous days of this honking, I went over at 6:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning and I asked if they would mind not honking the horn anymore because we were trying to sleep. So I was informed that they've lived here for 22 years, this is their neighborhood, they'll do whatever the F they want, and I can go back in my house. What did he say? When people piss me off, I become like animal. That's what he said to me. Your situation is different from my situation. Maybe it doesn't come across on video, but the three of us are intelligent people. Sure, the thought has crossed our mind to simply walk over there and say, hey, would you mind not honking your horn for 10 continuous minutes? Do you think you could bring your dog in at 3 o'clock in the morning? Would it be okay if you didn't leave your trash cans in front of my house all lined up for 4 continuous years? Could you not throw your burning cigarettes into my dry grass? No, they yell at us, they scream at us, they curse at us, they slam doors in our faces. No matter how I put this, you'll take it negatively, because, well, that's what happens, but... Assuming, again, have you thought about turning your toy room into a soundproof room so you can record in there? I think there are other rooms where that would make more sense. But no, that does not work. Yes, we tried that. That used to be where we did recording. We have tried everything. No, you cannot soundproof a room for $100 and have it be effective. And the screaming kids are from my neighbor's twins. When I record music, I ask them to keep it down, pretty much do that, or I involve them in my music projects. Of all the videos that I've posted to this channel and my other channel, which video lends itself the most to barking or children shrieking, screaming, and crying? When I used the word empathy, maybe I didn't use it properly. I was talking about the ability to put yourself in somebody else's situation and be like, okay, I understand how this really bothers them. The stuff that you compared what I'm talking about to, you just told me about your situation, which isn't my situation, and said that it doesn't bother you and shouldn't bother me. No, that's incorrect. And I do know who you are. I know that I've talked to you on Facebook. I gave you some good Dragon Zord advice. I'm not putting your name in here. I don't know if you're watching, but I did want to reply to this because I just see this type of comment on so many other videos and so many other places. I just never see other people reply in a way that I find satisfying. I mean, clearly you're capable of posting more than once. You've posted 5-6 times. So when you say you can only post a little bit because of the 500 characters limit, which I think they've since lifted, that's not even accurate. You say here you have to get to the point because there's a 500 character limit, but you commented multiple times, so if you have to say more, you just post another comment or a video response. Alright, I do feel a little better now having replied to that. Alright, I think I've made my point. I've vented. I've given my backstory. There have been so many really crazy things that we've experienced, seen, witnessed, dealt with in the 6+ years that we've lived in this house. You can't put it all into one video. And the 2 years that we lived in our apartment, that's all on tape, by the way, so I can't even go get all that footage. The next time we move, it really needs to be somewhere where we have a little more space from the people around us. Maybe it's not in California, or maybe it's in a nicer area in California. I don't know. For now, we've made this house our home. We need to work out whatever problems we have with our neighbors. Hopefully we're doing that.
That sounds really close. Here we go again.
I can't believe how often this happens.
This is the second time just today.
Never a dull moment, right? Alright, I guess I should end here. I have a very overdue mail vlog. Some of you guys sent us some nice stuff following, some really nice stuff actually, following the last video, which is of course very much appreciated, but you guys don't have to do that. I'm not looking for sympathy. I did need to vent, and this is, I guess, the conclusion to that, but you don't have to send me anything. Again, thank you. I want Mia to be present when we go through that. Something's going on out there. Always something. This is gonna be a busy week for us. My birthday is coming up. Clearly, I don't love birthdays like everybody else on the internet. It means I'm old. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still here. And good night.